The moment has come. Is Jared Kushner fulfilling the ancient prophecy of Daniel, a date that could change everything? October 10th, 2025. While you're going about your daily routine, something extraordinary has just happened. At this very moment, a historic ceasefire has come into effect in Gaza. World leaders are celebrating. The international press is proclaiming this feat as revolutionary. But do you know who really engineered all of this behind the scenes? It wasn't a president. It wasn't an ambassador. It was a man with no official government position, an individual with no diplomatic title whatsoever. And yet, he managed to craft the entire framework for the agreement. He conducted negotiations with 7 countries. He obtained all the necessary signatures, and when the treaty was finally unveiled to the world, the response was unanimous. Global applause. Your name? Jared Kushner. And what you're about to discover could completely shake your understanding of current events. Prepare for 5 absolutely shocking key revelations about this prophetic discovery. Revelation 1. Who really is Jared Kushner, and why does it matter now? Let's start with the character himself. In case you're unfamiliar with Jared Kushner, here's a quick summary. He's President Donald Trump's son-in-law, married to Ivanka Trump. During the first Trump administration, he served as a senior advisor. And it was during this period that he orchestrated something truly extraordinary, the Abraham Accords. These peace treaties established the normalization of relations between Israel and several Arab nations, the United Arab Emirates, Bahrain, Morocco, and Sudan. It was unprecedented and significant, and it made Kushner a respected figure in Middle Eastern diplomacy. But when Trump left office, Kushner simply disappeared from the spotlight. He founded a private investment firm called Affinity Partners. He kept a low profile. He stayed away from the political arena until now. Because for the past 9 months, Kushner has been quietly working on something far more ambitious than the Abraham Accords. He's been developing, negotiating, and finalizing a 20-point peace plan involving Israel, Hamas, and a coalition of Arab countries. And he's accomplished all this without holding a single official position. No ambassadorial rank, no cabinet position, no formal recognized authority. However, on October 9th, when the peace agreement was officially signed, Donald Trump publicly thanked Jared Kushner by name. He called him indispensable. He defined him as irreplaceable. He declared him the person who made it all possible. So, the disturbing question arises, is Jared Kushner genuinely a peacemaker, or is there something much deeper going on here? But let's put speculation aside for a moment. It's time to examine the prophecies. Revelation 2, the frightening parallels between Kushner's plan and Daniel's prophecy. Okay, let's be direct and specific. Why do so many people claim that Kushner's actions align perfectly with Daniel's prophecies? We need concrete evidence. Tangible proof, not mere speculation or sensationalism, verifiable facts. Let's start with the most obvious. Parallel number 1, an alliance involving multiple nations. Daniel 9:27 declares, "He will confirm the covenant with many, not with one, not with 2, but with many." Historically, the greatest peace agreements are bilateral. 2 parties, 2 signatures. Simple and straightforward. But this plan is the complete opposite of simplicity. Let me detail who is involved in this agreement. Israel, clearly the main protagonist. Hamas, the militant organization controlling Gaza. Egypt, acting as the main mediator and hosting the final negotiations in Sharm el-Sheikh. Qatar, providing financial support and diplomatic pressure. The United Arab Emirates, offering economic investment and regional legitimacy. Saudi Arabia, the silent giant that is not an official signatory but is deeply involved in a discreet manner. Turkey, surprisingly cooperative, lending credibility in the Islamic world. And the United States overseeing the entire process. There are 8 main actors, 8 nations or entities, all signing the same framework. And here's what makes this even more striking. These groups hate each other. Hamas and Israel, enemies for decades. Turkey and the United Arab Emirates, regional rivals. Saudi Arabia and Qatar, with diplomatic disputes for years. So how did everyone end up sitting at the same table agreeing on the same plan? One man, Jared Kushner. He traveled between capitals. He held private meetings. He made countless phone calls. He crafted language everyone could accept, and most disturbingly, he did most of it in absolute secrecy. And note, the word Daniel uses, will confirm, doesn't mean to create from scratch. It means to strengthen, establish, make official something that was already being discussed. And that's exactly what Kushner did. He took years of failed negotiations and turned them into a binding multi-party agreement. Parallel number 2, divine absence, but promise of peace. This is subtle yet critical. Most people, upon hearing about a Middle East peace plan, automatically assume it's a positive thing. Peace is always good, right? But not according to Scripture, because the Bible makes a clear distinction between two types of peace. There is the peace that comes from God, the shalom, that arises from reconciliation with the Creator, the peace that Jesus offers, the peace that transcends all understanding. And then there is human peace, the peace of treaties, the peace of political compromise, the peace that arises from negotiation, not from spiritual transformation. And herein lies the prophetic problem. Human peace in the Bible is almost always a prelude to judgment. The Apostle Paul warned of this in 1 Thessalonians 5:3. Whenever they say peace and safety, then sudden destruction will come upon them, as labor pains upon a pregnant woman, and they will not escape. Notice the sequence. People declare peace. They feel safe. And then destruction comes suddenly, not gradually, not predictably, but suddenly. So what is the nature of this peace? It is a purely secular plan, a technocratic solution to a fundamentally spiritual problem. And this is precisely the kind of peace Paul warned about. This peace plan treats the Israeli-Palestinian conflict as if it were merely a political dispute, a resource allocation problem, a security challenge. But it isn't. It's a spiritual conflict over the covenant land. And any peace agreement that ignores this reality is built on sand. Revelation 3, the prophecy of Ezekiel, an Israel safe before the sudden attack. Now we need to address one of the most detailed and specific prophecies in all of Scripture, Ezekiel's war. This isn't symbolic language. It's not vague prediction. It's a precise, geographically specific and militarily detailed description of a future invasion of Israel. And here's what should make us pay absolute attention. The conditions for this invasion are being set now by this peace plan, by international agreements, by the framework that Jared Kushner just put in place. Let's turn to the book of Ezekiel, chapters 38 and 39. This two-chapter prophecy describes an invasion of Israel in the last days. It is so detailed that scholars can identify the nations involved, the motivation for the attack, the precise timing, the ultimate outcome, and, crucially for our discussion, Israel's condition when it all happens. Ezekiel 38:8 states, "After many days you will be visited. In the latter years you will come to the land restored from the sword, whose people were gathered out of many nations against the mountains of Israel that had always been desolate, but that people were brought out from among the nations, and they all dwell safely." Let me explain what God is revealing here. After many days, this is a future event, not something occurring in Ezekiel's time. In the latter years, this is end times prophecy. The land restored from the sword. Israel has experienced war, describing a post-conflict Israel. Gathered from many nations, the Jewish people have returned from the diaspora, from multiple countries. They will dwell in safety. And this is the absolutely crucial phrase. This is the trigger. The invasion happens when Israel is dwelling in safety without fear. Now notice verse 11. And you will say, I will go up to the land of unwalled villages. I will go up to those who are at rest and dwell safely, all of them living without walls, without bars or gates. Israel is described as living in unwalled villages, dwelling in tranquility, living without bars or gates. This is the image of a nation that feels completely safe, secure, and at peace. And it is precisely at this moment that the invasion occurs. Now it gets specific because Ezekiel doesn't just describe the attack, he names the attackers. Look at Ezekiel 38:2-6. Son of man, set your face against Gog, the land of Magog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal, and prophesy against him. And say, this is what the sovereign Lord says, Behold, I am against you, O Gog, Persia, Ethiopia, and Libya with them, Gomer and all her bands, the house of Togarmah from the farthest parts of the north. These are ancient names, but scholars have traced them to modern nations. Gog and Magog, identified as Russia, the ruler of the far north. Meshech and Tubal, ancient regions in what is now Turkey. Persia, explicitly modern Iran. Ethiopia and Libya, nations in North Africa. Gomer and Togarmah, also identified as parts of Turkey and Eastern Europe. So we have the coalition, Russia as leader, Iran explicitly named, Turkey mentioned multiple times. North African allies including Libya and possibly Sudan. Now here's what's absolutely terrifying. Look at the current geopolitical alignments. Russia, Iran, and Turkey have formed an unprecedented military alliance in Syria over the past decade. They coordinate military operations, they share intelligence, they conduct joint exercises. This covenant didn't exist 50 years ago, it didn't exist 20 years ago, but it exists now. And it's exactly the coalition Ezekiel predicted 2,600 years ago. Why would this coalition invade Israel? Ezekiel explicitly tells us in verses 12-13 to take the spoil, to take the silver and the gold, to take the cattle and the goods, to take great spoil. The motivation is economic, to plunder, to capture prey, silver and gold. It's not a religious war, it's not about ideology, it's about resources. Israel has something they desire, and they believe Israel is vulnerable enough to be taken. What does Israel possess that is so valuable? First, natural gas. Israel has discovered enormous natural gas fields in the Mediterranean, Leviathan and Tamar fields. Enough gas to make Israel energy independent and a major exporter. Second, technology. Israel is a global leader in cybersecurity, military technology, agricultural innovation, and medical technology. Third, strategic position. Israel's control means control of Middle Eastern trade routes, access to the Mediterranean, and influence over the entire region. And if Israel is living in security, if they have let their guard down due to a peace agreement, this coalition will see a perfect opportunity. This is where we connect this to Jared Kushner's peace plan. Ezekiel states that the invasion occurs when Israel is living in security, feeling protected. The crucial question is this peace plan creating exactly that condition? Let me show you how. First, demilitarize Gaza. Point 13 of the plan calls for complete demilitarization. Hamas disarmed, no rockets, tunnels, or military infrastructure. Israel's most immediate threat neutralized. Second, international peacekeeping forces. Point 15 establishes international forces to monitor the ceasefire. Israel will believe it has protection, security guarantees, and international support. They will feel protected not only by their own army, but by the global consensus. This is the definition of living in security. Third, economic prosperity. Points 10 and 11 promise economic development in Gaza and the surrounding region. When economies grow, when investment flows, when prosperity increases, people feel secure. They stop preparing for war. They start planning for the future. They live in safety. Fourth, normalized relations with Arab nations. This plan involves several Arab states: Egypt, Qatar, the United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia. If Israel has peace agreements with its neighbors, if trade flows, if diplomatic relations are strong, Israel feels secure. Ezekiel specifically mentions that Israel will be living in unwalled villages, a metaphor for a nation that no longer feels the need for constant defense. And that's exactly the condition this peace plan is designed to create. Are we witnessing the preparation for Ezekiel's war now? Let me present 3 prophetic indicators that suggest the answer may be yes. Indicator number 1. The coalition is already formed. Russia, Iran, and Turkey are already cooperating. This is not speculation. It's documented reality. Indicator number 2. The motivation is clear. Israel possesses valuable resources that this coalition desires. Indicator number 3. Israel is moving toward false security. If this peace plan succeeds, even temporarily, Israel will lower its guard. It will reduce military readiness. It will focus on economic growth. It will believe the international community supports it. And that's when it will be most vulnerable. Ezekiel says that God will put hooks in Gog's jaws, meaning that God will lure this coalition to attack. And the bait is a secure and prosperous Israel that seems like easy prey. What happens during the invasion? Let's examine what Ezekiel reveals about what occurs during this invasion, because the outcome is as important as the preparation. See Ezekiel 38:18-23. God declares that he will cause a great earthquake so powerful that every wall will fall and mountains will crumble. Armies will turn against each other. Confusion will cause the coalition to fight among themselves. Pestilence and blood will sweep over the invading forces. Fire and brimstone, supernatural judgment from heaven. The result, Ezekiel 39:2, reveals that only 16% of the invading army will survive, an 84% death rate, not from Israeli military might, but from direct divine intervention. And God explicitly states why he will do this. Thus I will magnify and sanctify myself, and make myself known in the eyes of many nations, and they will know that I am the Lord.